So you want the functionality and reliability of a 1911, but you don't like the capacity. So you, in fact, want a double stack 1911, which until recently would cost you a pretty penny. Until now, that Springfield Prodigy 1911 DS, double stack 1911 in 9mm. But how good is it? Let's check it out. Hey, welcome back to the Walther Lover channel, everyone. A place where we discuss general gun and shooting topics. We do all make and model gun reviews, gear reviews, gadget reviews, and talk about competitive shooting. Thank you so much for checking out this video. So tonight, talking about that thing, Springfield Prodigy 1911 DS. That's right, double stack 1911 in 9mm. Very, very interesting. Safety first, as always. I'm going to take the mag out of the gun. Make sure we are clear. We are clear. No ammunition in the gun. Folks, we are safe, as you can see. So there you have it. Prodigy 1911 DS. Very interesting. So what the heck is this thing? Most of you probably understand where they were getting at, what they're getting at with this double stack 1911 stuff. So in the last few years, these guns have gained a lot of traction in the mainstream world. In the competitive world, a double stack 1911 is not that unusual, but you're talking about a lot of high-end, custom fit, custom built guns, purpose-built for going fast and going hard. To get one in the consumer marketplace, there's one company that's been pushing the envelope on that a little bit. Still expensive, though. So up until this gun, to get a double stack 1911, you're talking about, I think, a minimum of $2,500. And even that seems to be on the lower end. And I know there's a couple of other low kind of budget options out there. I'm not getting into that. If you have one and you love it, that's cool. But from the mainstream manufacturers, trustworthy, reliable, it was going to cost you a fortune until Springfield came out with this thing. So we're going to talk a little bit in a bit about what it's for, or my perspective, my opinion on what it's for. But I will tell you that it's quite interesting. And a lot of us who love 1911s, but maybe occasionally got hung up on capacity, well, this thing may very well be for you. So as always in this video, we're going to take an up-close look at this gun. But I want to give you a quick note. You're going to notice some differences. I'm going to splice together some videos for you here. As you can see, this gun has an optic on it now. You will notice in the up close that it does not. So I really wanted to shoot this gun open sight. I am an iron sight shooter and I love it. Until my eyes won't allow me to do it anymore, I'm going to keep shooting iron sights. But I realize that most folks that get this gun, there's a high probability those folks want to shoot it with an optic. So I felt like the only fair way to give you a good video was to give you a little bit of both. So we're going to look at the gun up close with the iron sights. We'll come back. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about how it shoots. We'll talk about the optic and all the things we liked and didn't like about this handgun. So let's get into it. Stand by. All right. There it is, folks. Springfield Prodigy 4.25. Yes, indeed. As always, safety first. There is no mag in that gun. We are clear. No ammunition in the magazine. We are safe. So there you have it. So the Prodigy is a double stack 1911. This gun is forged steel frame slide with a polymer grip module. That's what we've got here. Obviously, single action 1911 style handgun. Very interesting. All right, looking at some details of this. The polymer grip module. A bit of a mag well in here. Not overly generous, but you know, I'm assuming you could probably get quick reloads fairly fast in there. The grip module itself. Well, I like a lot of texture on a grip. And I feel like this isn't terrible, but I kind of expected a little more grip, a little more texture on that thing. It wasn't problematic shooting, but I would have wanted a little bit more. We've got an undercut on the trigger guard here, space for your hand. It is easy to get a good grip on this gun. Mag release, well positioned, although people with smaller hands who aren't used to this style of handgun are going to have to break the grip to reach that for sure, but not a big deal. There is some texture similar to the grip module on the front of the trigger guard for folks that, put their finger on the trigger guard. We've got a rail slot, rail up front for accessories and whatnot. Similar 1911 fashion, we've got a grip safety here. It seems to function well. It's easy to get a hold of. You don't really notice it when you get a good grip. We've got a full ambi safety, both sides, as you can see, for our left-handed brothers and sisters. There's our slide lock, which is interesting. It's a very small, precise cutout for that, and it seems to be a little difficult to lock this back. We've had some trouble with that, but that's okay. Texture on the slide itself is phenomenal, both front and rear. I like the texture on that a lot. Very easy to get a purchase on that gun, and it moves so smooth that man, you can really get a hold of that thing pretty well, and that's pretty solid. Very happy with that part. Skeletonized hammer here does have a half cock position as well, as you can see, which is a safety feature. So if somebody's putting that hammer down, you don't make a bad decision. On top of the slide on this thing, we have a U-notch blacked out serrated rear sight and a green fiber optic front. Excellent sights. I like the sights a lot. For anyone that knows Springfield guns, they may already be used to the U-dot, but I like it. It's pretty cool. It's easy to see for sure. This gun is optic ready, and we're going to talk about that a little more coming up, but it is optic ready, and this gun is also sold with an optic installed as well. So there you have it. Now, of course, everybody wants to know about the trigger, right? As I said before, we are safe. We are clear. Let's take a look at that trigger. Ready? That's all your take up. There you go. So it's interesting. We're going to talk about the trigger a little more. It is crisp for sure. Very crisp trigger. It's a little heavier than I anticipated, but it's not bad or anything. It's just a little heavier than I thought it was going to be. So there we go. Yeah. So there you have it. Again, very easy to manipulate that slide, and it's very smooth. Feels good. All right, let me show you what this thing comes with. You get the obligatory Springfield bag that most of their guns these days come with. And in the box, we have tools for takedown. Takedown on this is a little more complicated than some folks may be used to. Chamber flag, safety cable, the additional magazine, and we're going to talk about the mags a little bit when we move on about this thing. But it comes with two mags, 17 and a 20. And yeah, so that's what you get. We're going to talk about these, but they're American made. Some very interesting markings here. I'm not sure if that's an ode to what may be coming in the future, or if that's just from the manufacturer, the Duramax, that makes these magazines. I'm not 100% certain. Clearly, the base plate on this, 1911 DS 9mm. If you look at the other mag, it clearly states, although it does say Springfield, says 2011 9mm. So I don't know what they're up to there, but there you go. There's the mags that she comes with. And of course, the instruction manual you get as well. So there you have it. The Prodigy double stack 1911. Sweet. Moving on. So now that you have seen this thing up close, let's talk a little bit about how it shoots. And again, as you see, now it's got an optic. I'm going to show you some video from the range. Shot it both ways. Shot it with iron, shot it with the optic. And yeah, let's talk about it. So I'll tell you, as I mentioned in the up close video, I had a different expectation around the trigger, but I'm not saying the trigger's bad. Don't get mad at me. All I'm saying is I had a little different expectation. The trigger's a little heavier than I thought. Initial impressions with this gun were quite good. It felt good in the hand. It's a pretty good size for somebody with large hands like me. So it felt good. It's easy to get a good grip on this gun. The texture I mentioned, it's very easy to manipulate this handgun. It was great. Nice flat shooter. We did have some challenges. In the first 100 rounds or so, we had a couple two-tree failure defeats. Now, we were shooting factory ammo, 115 grain target loads, nothing spectacular, but pretty average ammo that I think most guns would cycle well. And we did have a few failure defeats. Second outing with this gun, we did not. And I think it's important to point that out. So is it a break-in thing? Maybe. I read the manual. I didn't see anything about that. I read manuals because I'm a dork. I like it. But I didn't see anything about a break-in period. But nevertheless, it's a pretty tight-fit gun. So maybe it just needed to be broken in a bit. I don't know. Again, it happened a few times, and it didn't happen with the bulk of the round count following the first outing. So there you go. I mean, it shot really well. The gun's very accurate. If you're not used to shooting a 1911 style gun, it's going to be a little different. It doesn't feel like your polymer guns by any stretch of the imagination. But once you get a feel for it, it took me a while to adjust. Once I got a feel for it, I started to shoot this thing pretty darn well. Shoots fast, shoots flat, and as I said, the second outing, it was pretty darn reliable. I mentioned the sights. I really liked the sights, right? And the up close. Well, here's the interesting thing. So the optic mounting plate they give you is for the Springfield standard mounting footprint. Okay, so what that really is like the Dr. Noblex footprint. Vortex, Viper, Venoms, your Burris Fast Fires, same footprint. And that's the plate they give you. The plate that it comes with, as you see, also includes a rear sight. So the interesting thing about the Hex Dragonfly, and by the way, there's nobody behind that camera, so I'm not pointing this thing at anybody. The interesting thing about using the Hex Dragonfly from Springfield is that these sights co-witness naturally with that optic, and that's pretty nice. And it's kind of a lower 1/3 co-witness, so it doesn't get in the way. It doesn't feel like you don't find your eyes always trying to find the sights. You can still focus on the dot or the target depending on what kind of shooter you are. So yeah, that's interesting with the Hex optic, and we'll come back to the optic in a minute. The grip module, I mentioned it in the up close video. I wish there was some more texture on this. I think some folks are really going to like that fine grit sandpaperish kind of feel. I prefer a grip that just kind of bites in there. But who knows? Maybe there'll be some options in the future. Maybe you could swap that out. I do see a couple of screws. I'm tempted to take it apart, see what happens, but I won't do that. But anyway, maybe there'll be some other modules, some ways to change that out in the future. It's not a big deal. Still feels good. I just like a little more bite. So what is this gun for? I have no idea. Well, I mean, I can make some assumptions. I will tell you, when I first saw the announcement about this firearm, I thought they were going after the competition world with the 5-inch model. This is the 4 1/4, by the way. Most of you probably already figured that out. That's the 4 1/4. I thought maybe they were going after the competition world. But in the interest of trying to get you in a very honest and informative review, I did a little more homework and I listened to every video, article, podcast, everything I could that talked about this gun. And there was a pretty interesting one with Rob Latham, who, for those that know, he's a legend in the firearms community and he's affiliated with Springfield Armory. And it was a part of developing this gun. He flat out said that it was not necessarily developed for competition shooting at this time. That's right. There may be changes. There may be some new developments coming in. I'm going to mention that in a second. He mentioned that tactical use duty gun, service pistol. And that's where I can see this thing living, especially in this 4 1/4 size. The gun weighs, it's right around 32.5 ounces. It's 8 inches, 7.8 inches long, 5.5 inches high. That is a good duty pistol size for carry. A little heavy, but for somebody that's used to carrying all the time, that's probably not a big deal. So that's from the man himself who was part of the development of this pistol. That's what he claimed it's for. But he did say, he mentioned these mags, and I mentioned it in the up close video that there's some interesting markings. You see the 9/38. And my head immediately went to say, hey man, does that mean that they're going to do something in 38 Super for this? But his mention in the video, can't talk about much. What it does sound like though, and you can see the size of this bull barrel. that there could be some future developments with this firearm platform that involve other calibers. That got me pretty darn excited. So we'll see. I mean, these mags will accommodate just about anything, right? And he mentioned that in the video. 9, 38 Super, 40, 10 mil, which would be pretty, I'd like that in 10 mil. That'd be pretty sweet. So I think the future for the Prodigy series is going to be pretty interesting to see what else they come up with. Okay. The optic, the hex optic. I'm going to review the optic separately. It looks good on this gun. I think most people would agree. I don't know yet how they hold up, so I'm going to have to wait and get you guys an update on the Hex Dragonfly optic. It looks good. The glass is pretty clear. Once we got it zeroed up, which was a cinch to do, yeah, it was pretty decent. Yeah. So again, getting back to what it's for, anybody that loves to shoot a fun range toy or something like that, you're gonna have a good time with this gun. I think you're gonna have a good time. It's pretty cool. Price of this gun is $14.99 in both the 4 1/4, like this one, and the 5-inch platforms. That's without the optic. With the optic, it's $16.99, which saves you about $50 off the price of buying the optic separately. So it's a huge value for the money. So do I like this gun? The answer is yes, for the most part. And I can't put my finger on it. Again, it shoots well. Maybe it's the trigger that makes me not as in love with it. Maybe that trigger breaks in a little bit. I like it for sure. I do. I guess my challenge may be where it lives in the world for me, and what it may be used for. Maybe that's where I get hung up. But overall, for the most part, I think for the money, this gun's a great value. And I think that most of you, if you buy this gun, are going to be happy with it. Now, watching a lot of the other review videos and some of the stuff going on out there, people have reported some issues with the 5-inch gun. We didn't have those problems with this at all. After those few failure to feeds I mentioned in the beginning, it's run pretty flawless ever since. Everyone that shot it has seemed to like it quite a bit, but I have seen a lot of folks surprised, like me, by the trigger. But I don't know. We'll have to see how that whole thing shakes out. So that's it. That's what I have for you. Springfield Prodigy. 1911 DS. Very interesting firearm. And I like it. I don't love it. But I like it. I want to love it. I'm going to try to love it. We'll see what happens. So, yeah. If you like this video, sweet. Please hit the like button. And if you haven't already, please, I beg of you, subscribe. Hit us up with some comments. Let us know what you liked and didn't like, etc., etc. I'll have some new and exciting content for you soon. Some more new gun reviews and some other cool stuff coming. Thank you for the ongoing support. I appreciate it. It's good to see everybody. And, yeah. See you.